Hello, Emmanuel community. Thank you for taking time to review our Safe Sanctuary policy. Your investment is crucial to children's safety and their spiritual growth and even your protection. As a church, we seek to make Emmanuel United Methodist Church a safe place for children to gather, to learn, and to grow. And we want to give parents confidence and assurance that their children are being well cared for. As volunteers, this information you're about to hear is crucial to understanding our policies and procedures and guidelines to follow in case anything arises. So I hope you'll take it and listen to it and know that it's very important. Please give it your time and consideration and let us know afterwards if you have any questions. Thank you for your time.
Abuse is any act committed by a person in a position of trust, a parent, a caregiver, a Sunday school teacher, pastor, or any other, which harms or threatens to harm a person's welfare, physical, spiritual, or mental health. A leader is a primary leader, staff, or volunteer of youth and children's activities, anyone directly responsible for supervising and overseeing a specific EUMC function, event, or activity. To work with youth, 6th grade to 12th grade, the leader must be a high school graduate for a minimum of 2 years or 21 years of age. To work with children's infant through 5th grade, the leader must be a minimum of 18 years of age. Assistants are persons who lend aid to the leader and act at the direction of the leader. Whether working with children or youth, assistants must be a minimum of 2 years older than the age that they are serving, and in the judgment of EUMC staff member competent to assist in the activity. At least 2 Safe Sanctuary trained adults are to be present during all church-sponsored programming with children. For youth, 2 adults are preferred, or a minimum of 3 youth and 1 adult present at all times. The exception to this rule will be those giving private lessons in the facility, and in that case, the leader will be required to have a background check. If the 2 are related by blood or marriage, it is strongly recommended that an unrelated third-party adult be present. No person under the age of 18 may serve as an adult under this rule. Where it is impossible to staff 2 adults in every room, an additional adult must serve as a floater with visual and physical access to all areas.
Emmanuel has a transportation policy that is to be followed for all vehicle use. But in addition to that, the Safe Sanctuary policies ask you to follow these guidelines. Only adults who are high school graduate for a minimum of 2 years or at least 21 years of age shall transport children and youth during any EUMC activity. No adult not meeting these requirements may transport himself or herself or any other person during any EUMC activity. During transportation, there must be at least 2 adults meeting the requirements mentioned above, or if circumstances absolutely prevent having a second adult, at least 2, more preferably 3 children or youth should be in a vehicle.
For any trips, retreats, or lock-ins that are Emmanuel related, it is preferred that an adult should not room with any youth or a child, even if it is his or her own, in a hotel, cabin, tent, or other similar situation. And if such rooming is necessary because of limited space, an adult may not sleep in the same bed as a youth or a child that is not his or her own. Reasonable arrangements shall always be made, taking into account the nature of lodging available. For example, 1 large room, many small rooms, confined areas, divided areas, etc. In situations where adults room with youth or adults in a hotel, cabin, or other similar situation, there must be 2 adults that are not related. These adults must be the same gender as the child or youth.
Hey Alden, thanks so much for sitting down with me today and helping me to understand some of our policies and help to answer some questions regarding our Safe Sanctuaries plan that we have in place. Can you help me out and let me know what happens if I see a situation or I'm made aware that one of our rules has been broken. What do we do?
Great question. We try really hard to stick to our safe sanctuary policy, but every now and then we do find ourselves in a situation where we have to deviate from it. We always obtain parent permission. We try to get that in writing. And if for any reason we do have to deviate from our policy, we immediately report it to the church administrator.
That's a great thing to do. So throughout the year, there's always families that come and visit, and it's wonderful when they become new members of our church. What do I do if I am just so excited about a couple that maybe would approach me and say, I'd love to get involved. How can I start volunteering now?
We always encourage people who want to get involved to jump right in and get involved. We do require that leaders of our groups be active in the church for at least 6 months, and that just helps everyone to get to know who they are. But if they want to start volunteering before they've been here for 6 months, they can still be an assistant. They would just serve alongside a fully trained volunteer.
That's great to know, because we always need volunteers. So I know a year ago when I was hired, they did a background check on me. Do you know all of the things that they were looking into and kind of what all those steps are?
Every staff person has a full criminal, child abuse registry, motor vehicle, and credit check done before they're hired. And I know that they check at least 2 references, so it's really thorough.
That's great. Well, all these rules and policies, who puts all that in place?
Our senior pastor and our lay leadership team select a safe sanctuary board once a year. And they go over all of the policies, make any adjustments that are needed, and all of the safe sanctuary's records and forms are kept in the church administrator's office.
Great place to be, all in one location. So once we go through the safe sanctuary's policies, then there's a training piece attached to it. How often is that done?
Yes, so even if you think that you have the safe sanctuary policy memorized, it's always a good idea to review it. So we require for that training to be done and reviewed once a year. A lot of people do that right before VBS. We have a lot of people who volunteer for VBS, so in the summer, or if we have new volunteers, a lot of the times we'll review it again before school starts. But the Safe Sanctuaries training can be done at any point of the year.
That's good to know. That helps people to feel comfortable joining in with us. All right, so let's say I am in a area and I've talked to a child, or perhaps a volunteer has told me they are suspecting child abuse. How do we report it? How do we handle that?
We take all allegations very seriously, and we're going to report that immediately. But in order to get into the details of what to do, I'm actually going to pass that question off to some of our church members who are experts in law and law enforcement.
Great, thanks.
Welcome. I'm joined here by James and Libba Fike, those who've worked in law enforcement, and child advocacy. Thanks for joining us. One of the bigger questions that people have is when, who, and how the reporting takes place when you suspect child abuse or vulnerable adult abuse. And so, Libba, can you help us understand what a mandatory reporter is according to law?
Of course. So in the state of Tennessee, everyone is a mandatory reporter. So if you see or suspect any sort of abuse of a child or a vulnerable adult, you do have to report that to the Department of Children's Services.
So if I'm in a ministry setting where there's other people, maybe I'm not the one in charge, I should just go ahead and assume they're going to report, right?
No.
Okay.
If you see it or if you suspect it, you need to report it so that we can ensure that all of these children and any vulnerable adults are protected. So the first thing that you must do is report to the Department of Children's Services, and you also need to report to the senior minister. If you're not comfortable reporting to the senior minister, or if the senior minister is involved in those allegations, then you can contact the Staff Parish Relations Committee chairperson, and you can contact them at 901-754-6548.
And then once that report is started from either the church end or the law enforcement end, James, help us understand what's important to include in those types of reports.
The most important thing to include is all the factual information that you've seen or documented. That will be names, dates of birth, when, where, times, anybody that was involved or would have seen anything. That's going to be all reported to DCS and also to the church as well.
So our safe sanctuary policy, hopefully in conjunction with the state and federal law, is in place so that we can make sure that evidence is being brought forth, that things are in the light, and we can protect vulnerable adults and children. Whether appropriate action should be taken place, our emphasis is that the protection of all potential or current victims. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello again, Emmanuel community. I just wanted to thank you again for your time that you spent looking at our safe sanctuary policy, realizing how important it is. If you have any questions, please contact us at the church, contact Jane Kinzer, and let us know, and we'll be happy to help address any concerns or questions you may have. Thanks again for your time. Have a nice day.
Please let your leader know that you have completed this training.